Hey, folks, welcome to another weekend edition and starting your week off with what's going on in the experience here on Fox Sports 1280. And I'm Nate Brown Jr., and I got a little digs. I hope Ryan could hear me good. So, I moved the
Loud and
office
clear.
here. Right? Okay, cool. And I got my man Greg Vaughn in the building, GV23,
What's good, Nate?
GV355, and 23, and the numbers and all that great stuff. And how you doing, buddy?
I'm doing good, man. I was just telling Rye, I played a lot of golf this week, so I'm just a little
Okay.
tired right now. But other than that, I'm good.
You said just a little tired, just the bones aching, just a tad bit, huh?
I'll never give in to it. But yeah, look, I'm just tired today.
Okay, okay. Well, but dude, you've been traveling. You've been a lot of different places, so between your body and your mind, you got to take a break. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, I do. But this show's important to me. You guys are
Well, we
important.
appreciate you, dude, hanging out with us.
Yeah,
Obviously,
it's lunchtime for you guys, and it's breakfast time for me in Vegas. You know what I
Okay,
mean?
okay, okay. Ryan V, how you
Super
doing with
early.
that Yankee stuff on, buddy?
I'm doing a whole lot better than Greg. I'm energized. Like you said, I'm 3 hours ahead of schedule right now. I'm feeling good, man. You know what? I feel a little bit contradictory here because I got the Yankees hat and the Bad News Bears jersey. If you're a fan of the movie, you remember they play it off in the finals. So I feel like I'm kind of playing both sides here, but all is well in the Hamptons, man. A lot going on in the world of sports to talk about.
Well, actually, it's a whole bunch of stuff going on in the world of sports. Hopefully, our guests will join us a little later if they come on. Dawn, Melissa Dawn Simkins, and she has a book called Athleadership: The Elite Mindset, How to Perform Under Pressure when it counts. So hopefully, she'll come on and talk about that. But Greg, he knows about performing under pressure when it counts. And speaking about pressure when it counts, I just want to shift right quick because you know how I do. Give me your view, Greg, on because I'm a member of the National Association of Black Journalists. I'm a member. I'm a member of the Rochester Association of Black Journalists, right? And from time to time, it's really interesting. Seriously, from time to time, being a member of that organization, there are times when they don't necessarily like go hard at some stuff, and I would like write a little opinion like, "Yo, man, you need to go hard on this." Even locally, there's some things that I think they should be doing from a community standpoint in terms of reporting just a little bit more and not being so timid in when it comes to reporting to black folks, right? So I kind of know a little bit about both sides, NABJ and RABJ, because I'm a member of it. So when I heard, not only did they call out Stephen A, they called out a few other people, somebody else from CBS and a few other folks. And as an athlete, Greg, Ryan and I aren't athletes. We commentate, we just talk, we like sports. But you guys have played at the highest level. So when someone comes into that space and think they know more than you, I mean, how does that bode well with those athletes who understand what it took to get there and not have somebody talk a little smack because they got a platform?
Well, I think it's twofold. I think when I came up, the times are different now. Everyone has a podcast, social media. There's so many different outlets to get good and bad news out, right? And get good and bad stories out. And when I was coming up, we were taught don't read the media because unfortunately the journalists have a job to do, right?
Hmm.
Whether you like them or don't like them, when you're playing well, they write good stuff about you. When you're playing bad, you know, they're going to write bad stuff about you. So, you know, uh, during my time, it was a little bit easier. I think I know where you're going with this. I think as an African American and, realizing how tough it is already to get to that point and to stay
Hmm.
there and deal with all the other things that come with that job.
Right.
You would like to see someone that looks like you maybe have a little bit more empathy towards you and uh, you know if you're going to have it's like the quarterback debate we had a couple weeks ago. It's if you're going to throw Josh Allen as there is number one, you better be able to have some arguments for why Hurts isn't in there and
Hmm.
everybody else, because if you're going to hold him to the same standard, Allen's not in there yet because he doesn't have a chip, right? We base everybody else on that. They base Lamar on that. And Bo Nix is in there. I mean, Drake May's in there. They're just giving these guys their flowers. So I think it hurts a little bit because when someone looks like they had to go through their own trials too to get where they were.
Exactly. Well, of course he did. Of course Stephen A. did.
And,
Look
and
at
then
that.
I think sometimes you forget, right? And then sometimes, man, you just, people get so big and full of themselves that they think they start believing their own Kool-Aid, right? They start drinking it and they start believing it. And now that, they want to venture out into the world and have opinions and very strong opinions on, on certain things. It's okay to disagree with people, but once again, you're picking out a few
So here's the
people
deal.
I
But
that,
Ryan,
that
Ryan,
you that you
can I ask
disagree
you?
with.
yeah,
Can I be honest, guys? Can I really be
because I
honest?
want to hear from you, Ryan. Of
Yeah.
course, that's why we
From
got
my
the show.
perspective, I'm not exactly sure. I understand why people might have their gripes with Stephen A, but I'm drinking the Kool-Aid, Greg, because I'm at the point now where I would much rather have him as the president of the United States, which is what he's talking about running for right now. Imagine him debating with
No,
Putin or Kim Jong Il or
I don't need to
Xi
hear that
Ping.
mess. I don't
Oh,
need to hear
come
that mess.
on. Imagine
No,
imagine
no.
Stephen A up there,
We already have
first take style.
we already have a circus. I don't need another circus. We know how many Six Flags do we need? You know what I mean? I
This is
think
great adventure, man. Come on.
no, hey, it is, and it'd be fun for him, to watch him. But like I said, man, I just it's hard when someone looks like you and you feel like they don't have your back at all. You can go out there and say, "Oh, I pull for the HBCUs," because that 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 brings him some weight, right? So he can feel like he can get a few fellas on his, few people on his side, right? And then he goes back in there, and first thing he does is start. I mean, dude, this president had pictures of our former first lady and president of apes and monkeys, and this man's defending this guy.
and
So this
and I think
That
and
is
I
kind of
think,
crazy. That's
but
super
but but
crazy.
but but, but here's the deal, though, gentlemen. It's really interesting because sports has crossed a cultural line. So we talk about that all the time. Intersection of sports and culture. So does this surprise me? I mean, no, it doesn't. But I think at the end of the day, right, people have to be held accountable, for their actions. And I think when you're a journalist, just like when you're an athlete, just like the stuff that Michael Vick went through with the dog and all that stuff
oh, he
too.
killed him.
But
He kills the brothers. He killed. He
but
absolutely killed them.
what I'm saying though, in Michael Vick, right, you should have known better. Even though you got killed by people, that's something that you should have a moral obligation. You know what? Maybe I know they do this down here, but it's not something that I kind of do and want to get involved in. So you have to really, and as an athlete, Greg, and I ain't telling you nothing that you don't already know. You got to pick and choose. And maybe some of your boys on your way up with you who was do it down with you cannot be down because they doing some stuff that you ain't doing. And you cannot afford to be in the mix with. So
I say that would be 95. That would be 95% of African American sports figures. Because we all grew up with those guys and those guys
mhm.
that were around us. And you do have to let some guys go. You can't be out there. If they really love you. I remember. Michael Slayton, he was running Folsom Prison, but I grew up with him. That's who we played football with and
Mhm.
basketball and
Mhm.
baseball with. And he's like, hey, man, coming home, walking home from school, he says, hey, you might want to go get ahead of us and, keep it moving. Don't even look back. And because he knew the stuff he was doing, he felt like I had a chance, right? So I feel like he was looking out for me because he could have very easily did the same thing,
Pulled
and they
you and
took all
said
of
exactly, exactly.
So I think it goes twofold, and then you take someone like Ja Morant. I think maturity level, and who are we looking up to? What are they teaching us? Are they just agreeing with us because the position I'm in, or are they telling me the hard no's and the hard yeses of why we need to think before we start doing some of these things?
But I have a take on that because I think certain sports, particularly like the NBA, don't necessarily want to see black fathers. That's another take. I really think because if you look at how the NBA does and even the NFL, because a strong black father, right? And look at LeBron. Even though LeBron is playing in the league, is like a strong black dad. That's why they didn't like my man LeVar Bell because
Yeah, I was
LeVar
gonna
Bell they didn't
spot
like
on.
LeVar Bell because LeVar
LeVar
Bell's like
Ball was
the
trashed by the
ball was
media,
like
trashed by
right,
Stephen A.
right because he was standing up for his kids, come right the hell high water, and he wasn't trying to be their friends. If you look at LeVar Ball, he wasn't trying to be their friends, Greg. He was their dad. Yeah, we do some stuff together. Yeah, you might not like me, but at the end of the day, some of these leagues, they try to destroy the relationship between black fathers and their children because they try to separate that. They've been trying to separate that out of home since the 40s and 50s with welfare. Don't get me started. That's another topic. But Greg, you know what I'm saying. You've been in that situation. You see how they treat the mothers versus the fathers. Anytime there's a draft, who's up there? They go to the mom. They never go to the dad and say, "Yo, what up, dude?" They be interviewing the moms all the time until the
Unless it's
dad got,
legacy, unless there's money attached and
unless
it's
it's
a
Carlos
junior
Boozer.
or
Exactly,
a junior, exactly.
exactly.
But look what they're doing with Ant Edwards. The man gets more attention for his baby mama drama than for his encore play, and he's one of the greatest shooting guards in the last 50 years we've ever seen. The guy's amazing. And they don't talk about the great dads, like you said, that are out there. But our guest has arrived, so it might be a good time to go to a quick break. Melissa Dawn Simkins is here to talk about her amazing book. And Nate, I mean, hey, we got to tell everyone to go to our website. That's important. We're back up. I don't know what happened. We had some people say the website was down. Well, it was. I apologize. My card expired. Okay. And the website is FoxSportsRadio, WGO.com. Meet us there. Greg Vaughn, Ryan Verneuille, Nate Brown Jr., baby.
We're going to take a quick break. And when we come back, we're going to introduce you guys to Melissa Dawn Simkins. We'll be right back. Fox Sports, iHeartMedia. Don't go no place. Hey, folks, welcome back to our second segment of what's going on in the experience here on Fox Sports 1280 in iHeartMedia. And this segment is sponsored in part by the VinoNoirGroup.org. October 3rd is the 9th annual Vino Noir and Wine Tasting Event here in Rochester, New York. And we're going to be having about 7-8 vendors, including my man Greg Vaughn. GV23 is going to be in the building. We got Shoe Crazy. We got a whole bunch of people. Love Corkscrew. We got vendors going to be up and down the place. We got theme rooms. I'm excited to be in the building, as well as introducing our next guest, Miss Melissa Dawn Simkins. Welcome to the show, young lady.
Thank you. Glad to be here.
And bringing us some of the estrogen up in this camp, because it's a bunch
you
of
need a little bit. I listen. I have 4 boys, so I'm very
so you. My mama had 5, so you get what I'm saying. My mom be like, y'all, shut up. Okay, mama's in the building. I want to introduce you to my man Greg Vaughn, former athlete that you probably know about him and all the great work he has done, and my other co-host, Mr. Ryan Verneuille. Let's welcome him to the show, gentlemen.
Welcome, welcome.
Thank you.
Welcome, Melissa. It's good to have you here. It's a good balance, right? We need a little bit of balance around here.
It's important.
We need someone to keep Nate in line. We need someone he has to listen to somebody.
Okay. Melissa, your book, Athleadership, The Elite Mindset, How to Lead Under Pressure and Perform When It Counts. What kind of made you do that? Because you said off mic, you heard us talking about Michael Vick. So tell us about how that evolved into this.
Yeah, so I'm an entrepreneur. I've been in business for 20 years, and I started the journey. The book is Athleadership, and it's really about leadership and the athletic mindset. And so I've played sports. I've been involved in athletics, but it wasn't until 2008, which my company did the first ever NFL player brand university. So as a woman-owned business, we went into the NFL, and this is before NIL, trained over 400 rookies across 19 teams on how to build their brand off the field. But before that happened, I was living in Cincinnati. I was a marketer at Procter Gamble when I left the company to start this business. And I pitched it to the Bengals, and they said, no, thank you. I moved to Atlanta, pitched it to the Falcons. They said, no, thank you. I happened to be in Black Enterprise Magazine talking about branding because that's my background. And a friend that I met in grad school was a former NFL player who said, hey, I got a great idea. You should do this for the NFL. And I said, yeah, I've been pitching an idea around helping players. Because I don't know if you remember, Chris Henry was in Cincinnati.
Yes.
He had so many issues. And he later went on and died because of some of those off the field issues. And I said, I just believe that athletes need to think more broadly about this platform. You know, I'm a woman. I'm not in the inside loop at that time. And he says, no. I work at the NFL. His name was Vaughn Bryant. And the program then went from a concept I came up with and was rejected twice. But it happened right after Michael Vick. So when Michael Vick happened, then the league said, you know what? this is something we should look into. So that
Now,
began the foundation for Athleadership, my experience working with the NFL. And then I went on to work with the NBA and other leagues as well.
one of the things, Greg, that I like that she deals with science and prayer. Okay, so the neurology of it all, right? Neuroscience,
Yes,
right?
yes,
All right,
correct.
right. Obviously, because Greg, we're talking about that, and then you got a lot of faith. So as the science of it all, right? When somebody like Greg is in a slump and he ain't doing too good, and he's 40 home runs away from that 400 or whatever. How do you talk him out of like just chill, just relax, brother? Because you got this.
Yes, yes. Actually, I always say you got this. And neuroscience is really just how does our brain is our brain wired in times of stress, urgency, and pressure. And I think
Mm.
athletes know that very well. And that's the book talks about conditioning versus training. Because when you're conditioned, you rise to the moment because you've been prepared for that moment. I think no matter if you're an athlete or not, we all have those moments where life hits us and we don't expect it the way that we thought. So I say step back and take a beat. You have agency. You can choose how you think, how you feel, then you decide, then you respond. So I literally break that down: think, feel, decide, and respond, so that when the moment of pressure hits, you can begin, Greg, to say, you know what? This is not what I expected. This is not what I want. What's my feeling around it? Then what am I going to decide? And then that's ultimately how I'm going to perform. And so it's a leadership approach for anyone to think about leveraging the conditioning that athletes use so to everyday life.
So Greg, at your highest peak, man, because like I said, dude, you played at the highest form, man. Does some of these things, resolve within you as she's talking about these issues?
Oh, 100%. Human nature, we want everyone to like us, right? So when you get a few people booing and start saying negative things, we were talking about the press, and you're like, somehow, like I said, it affects you, a little bit, you know what I mean? And we can say it doesn't. We all want to be loved and liked, unless you're just that villain that just, that's the beat you march to. But I started working with somebody one time, and we, just as she said, we can't control how we think and our thoughts. It's being able to have the tools to recognize that and then to change those patterns, right? So, he would tell me, he said, "Hey, Greg, but the guy sitting up in section 505, row C, seat six, why would you let him have any effect on your life? He's irrelevant. It doesn't matter." So, when I started looking at, you know, life, or hey, he could have got fired today, he's having a bad day, all these things that could come into effect. And I just start taking control of my thoughts and preparing. We work out, we work our bodies to death, but even our eyes, we don't train our eyes and we don't train mentally,
Mhm.
you know what I mean? And those are, the two biggest components, because you get to a certain level, everyone's athletic, everyone has talent, but it's the mental part that separates the guys that
Mm-hmm.
make it and the guys that don't make it.
Yes, yes. And that mentality transitions over. So I'll tell you a story. One of the players I worked with was Charlie Batch with the Steelers.
Yes.
And last night, I text him about something else. He says, "Oh, no, no, no. Um, I'm commentating the game." And I thought, oh, locally. And I go on NFL Network, and he's actually commentating the game between the Jets. But see, with
Yes, he was.
Charlie's practice, I worked with Charlie before he left the NFL, and Charlie was commentating high school games, right? Then
Mm-hmm.
he moved up. And he's been doing local. And so it's that conditioning of practice. Even though he's a great athlete, he's moved out of his what was comfortable
Look,
to
I'm
move into commentating. And then the moment when you're called up, you've got to be ready, just like in sports. So I think it's a mindset that many everyday people don't realize they can practice to be able to be ready for those moments. And so that's what, athleadership really is about. It's the mindset to be able to lead under pressure and perform when it counts.
Now, Ryan, you've been doing talk radio for a while, performing under pressure when it counts.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, like, it's one of the things about the great athletes is they sometimes will be public about this mentality, like Kobe with his Mamba mentality.
Yes.
Think about how many people apply it in real life that are not athletes, that are just up all hours of the night working relentlessly. And other mentalities too. It still applies, like the that drive and determination. And I think that's why a lot of athletes do so well. Like you mentioned, your friend that is commentating for the Steelers. Um, a lot of athletes do well outside of sports because they apply it and they can take it into any realm and any business. It's that relentless drive and force.
Yes.
Well, one of the guys who did a tremendous job, he just passed away maybe last year, and people didn't even know he was almost a billionaire, was Junior Bridgman. Junior Bridgman played for the Milwaukee Bucks, and he was phenomenal. Before you looked up, he had like a tons of Wendy's. He invested money in certain kinds of property. He was doing phenomenal things, and nobody knew what Junior Bridgman was doing because he was an afterthought in regard to sports, Melissa.
Right.
But
Right.
he applied that same tenacity
Mm-hmm.
to the business world. It was very, very successful.
Yes.
And when you talk about branding nowadays, because Greg was talking about that earlier, there's a lot of podcasts, a lot of sports shows. I was telling my man Ryan Clark the other day, as much as I love him, there's no crying in broadcasting. Ryan, you can't just, dude, you had a good run. You good. You pivot to the pivot. You know what I mean? You good. Don't let them take your glory because you are good at what you do. That was a season. If we're gonna look at prayer, we have seasons. Ecclesiastics. I don't know which one it is, but it's in the Bible. So seasons come and seasons go. And when they come, you embrace it. When they leave, you embrace it too. Because you might have a bigger season than one that you just left, Melissa.
Yes, yes. I think it's so important. In working with athletes, they're just a prototype of leaders, right? And working with athletes, we talked about all the ones that did it well, but so many don't.
Right.
So many don't transition well, right? And I think one of the things I talk about that I've had to personally learn is that my worth is not my work. And we often, because we have a platform, right? Media is a platform. Sports gives you a platform. The applause says, I love you. And you begin to intertwine who you are with what you do. So when what you do changes, what's my worth? What's my value? And I've had to learn, and I talk about this in the book, how to separate that so that no matter what I'm doing in what season, I still have my worth. And matter of fact, what I went through just makes me more valuable, right? It's I call it the untouchable, the intangible that makes you untouchable. What Ryan just went through, that is an intangible experience. People don't understand it, but it's going to make him untouchable if he can get this mindset that you're talking about.
Right. Because it's like I said, listen, man, my jobs I got fired from. I'm sorry. Okay, so my wife's like, did you quit or did you get fired? This is on me. I kind of put that when I wasn't feeling it. So it's kind of like it's like you said. We're going to take a quick break. When we come back, I want you to continue with us because we're going to talk about today's athlete and branding. Okay. And how does that, like, for example, the WNBA and all the stuff they're going through. Dude, it's for women. It's cut and dry. I don't know what everybody else says. It's for women. Why are you making it something out of nothing? We're going to take a quick break. This is Nate Brown Jr. We got Greg Vaughn in the building. We got Ryan V in the building. And we got some balance in the building with Melissa Dawn Simkins. We'll be right back. Fox Sports 1280. Don't go no place. iHeartMedia. Welcome back to Fox Sports. What's going on? The experience here on iHeartMedia. And I'm Nate Brown Jr. And we got Greg Vaughn in the building. We got Ryan V. And we got Melissa Dawn Simkins. And we were talking about her new book. It's an incredible book, Athleadership. It's really interesting. And what lessons have you learned from top athletes that translated directly for you? And as you go about and talking to different kinds of folks, particularly now with, because they're getting younger. The athletes are getting younger, right? And they're having more money. They're having more access. So how do we help them manage their brand beyond basketball? Thinking about it now. I mean, Alex got in the league. I ain't trying to think about 10 years from now. How do you get them to think now and beyond?
That's a lot. That's a lot that you asked that question. But I'll start with I talk about in the book being an MVP, right? And everybody wants to win, everybody wants that title, but it's different in terms of mission, vision, purpose. And so helping athletes young define that identity beyond their performance, I think that's key. What I find that great athletes do well that we all can learn from is that they are very, very disciplined in their approach in their mindset and their vision, right? Seeing that they're going to get to a goal. I think also they have the ability to pivot. A call is played, something else happens on the field. They've got to be able to pivot quickly. They've got to be agile. And then resilient. I think we have a wrong definition of failure, right? Every game, someone's going to win and someone's going to lose, but the game
sounds like
doesn't stop.
Greg.
It's just got to keep going, right? So we've got to have short-term memory about our setbacks and keep moving forward. So those are just a few things that I would share.
You know what, Melissa? I think you can sign them two cats up for sure. Because as soon as the Mets lose or the Yankees lose one game, sell the whole team. They're all bummed. They have to get rid of them.
we're fans, man. This is what fans do. Fans are fair weather. We don't understand what y'all got to go through because it's so funny. That's why we had the reason why Greg is honestly because he really just gives us insight. Because, like I said, my contention is I played sports, but not no high level. So that's why I don't understand some commentators, and you know what I'm talking about, can challenge athletes and like, dude, you ain't played this, so what are you talking about? You haven't done this. So you can commentate, but you ain't do this. You ain't, like Greg said, Randy Johnson throwing how many 105 miles an hour at you, Greg, at your head?
Yeah, but I think as soon as you can realize that it doesn't matter, everyone has an opinion, and it only becomes powerful when we give it power. You know what I mean? When we give what they're saying power, and it really doesn't matter. They're going to have their opinion. They're trying to sell themselves. We might not understand it. I think we have to continue to, take power back and continue to think that, in a way that's going to make us, thrive and be positive and be a good example, right? Because as much negativity is out there right now. I mean, we can all get caught up in it. I know I was when they were talking about the guy in that White House up there. I mean, it was driving me crazy. You know what I mean? Because I couldn't understand it, and then I had to take my power back because I couldn't be consumed with it, right? So
yes,
I think the mental aspect of life. If you, and like I said, sports is just a small part of it, but you're going to get knocked down in life. You're going to get beat up in life, and you have to be able to have that fight and that tenacity to get up. And I tell a lot of African American kids or kids, period, hey, don't prove them right, prove them wrong. You know what I mean? It's easy to prove them right, prove them wrong. I'm going through it with my daughter right now, and I would love for her to meet you. She's we call her the Jackie Robinson of dressage, equestrian. So she's in Europe right now, and no one else looks like her, and they make her go through all these different hoops and different things. And she's like, Dad, they can't get me. But this sport is a wealthy man's sport. So when you have Wall Street Journal saying I want a horse, or Google or Nvidia, and they're buying $10 million horses and then renting the rider just to put their name on it, and they make donations. My daughter gets left on the outside. But I just told her, if it's important to you, Jackie Robinson, I use that analogy because he had to go through it. Look, your dad would have never played if it wasn't for him. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
He got beat up and knocked down. And once again, it's going to make you stronger in the end. So I would love for you to talk to Janae because she got some fire. Yeah, she's tough. She has some fire.
She got it from somewhere.
Yeah.
But it's just so interesting because Melissa, she's in a space where we don't dwell. And she's succeeding. Okay, we don't. I mean, let's keep it a buck. And she's succeeding, and to have somebody like that. So before you leave, I'll make sure you get Greg's information and everything because this is what our universe is all about. In our multiverse, our connection is authentic, and it's not transparent either. Because at the end of the day, I've been doing this for a very long time, and my whole thing is just getting people to where they gotta help, where they gotta go. If this platform can do that for folks, let's go. Because when I'm not here any longer, the soul of Nate Brown is going to be in Ryan. See that guy right there? He already said it.
That's right. I'm here, man. And I wish one day I aspire for my family to be in the space with horses. The only horses I've been around since I was a kid were in Elmer's glue. Never was I in that world in space, but you guys are knocking the doors down, baby.
Do not do it. Do not do it. There's a lot of other sports out there. Do not do it.
It's a costly sport.
Yeah.
Oh, yes.
It really is, and to see her be as successful as she is, and she's in a
It's amazing.
magazine called Innovative at the Intersection. She has an article. We'll get that to you as well. But Melissa, we appreciate you coming in, hanging out with us today, and I'm going to thank Jenny, and because me and my man Jordan, we call her Jenny from the block. So I want to thank Jenny from the block for hooking us up with you, and hopefully I'll see you at a CIAA in February, this upcoming February. I don't know if you're going to be there or
Possibly.
not,
Yeah.
but yeah. So I really enjoy going to CIAA, and they do a tremendous job in Baltimore. As a matter of fact, I think they made the city itself $3.5 billion since they've been
Wow.
there. Right,
Amazing.
and Commissioner Jackie McWilliams Parker is another phenomenal female that's doing some tremendous things. See, I have daughters, so you can tell.
You should send these list of all these powerful women to Stephen A. Man.
But I'm just saying you, but you can tell, Melissa, I have daughters, right? Listen,
Absolutely.
my daughter,
Absolutely.
listen, they are my champions, and I am
I
their
love it.
champions. And seeing those ladies do well in a space sometimes that folks don't think they should be in, it's just incredible. So, like you said, it's in
Yeah,
the genes and it's in the encouragement
it
that the
is.
village gives them.
I'll leave this last thing. I think we all just need to realize that leaders aren't born, they're built. And
Yes.
life builds you. You are built. I always say, I leave it with, you are built for this. Whatever you're going through, you are built for it. So own it.
Well, we appreciate you. We're going to take a quick break and we're going to connect you with Greg and all that kind of good stuff. When we come back, folks, we're going to talk some baseball because as I got all excited about the Mets, then the freaking White Sox blow them out in the bottom of the ninth inning. There you go, Ryan. It's like, here we go again. The roller
I'm
coaster
excited,
of
man.
baseball.
I'm so inspired by Melissa. Maybe I can still play for the Yankees. Who knows? What do you think, Greg? There's still hope, man.
I don't think so.
I'm glad he's muted right now because I'm sure it was going to be a nasty thing he said.
Exactly.
I said, as long as you believe it.
Yeah, exactly. There we go. That's what I'm talking about.
We're gonna take a break. When we come back, we're gonna get into some baseball and I guess a little bit of football because they did it in the preseason. We'll be right back. Folks, welcome back to our final segment of what's going on in the experience. That was a great interview, gentlemen, that we had with Melissa Dawn Simkins. What do you think about her being on the show today, Greg? GB23. You're the athlete in the bunch, man. You know what time it is.
Well, I think Melissa's unbelievable. I think very well informed. Yeah, I mean, I think she has, the MVP. She's the MVP, right?
Mm.
As she tries to turn, other people into that. I think, she has the sauce. She has the right mixture. She has it going on, and you can see how vibrant, and it makes her to talk about it, right?
Yes.
So,
Yeah.
and she's very knowledgeable also, because she's right. We should be in control of our thoughts, right? And it sounds more easier said than done, but it goes back to my rookie year. Uh, Dave Winfield, first time I've ever met him, right? And I was in awe, 6'6", back then all the brothers came up to everybody, but he was like, hey man. And the older ones tried to help us. And the first thing he said to me, he said, hey, yeah, I like your style. I like the way you play. He said, hey, you was raised right. You know what you can do and not do,
Mm.
right? You can't do what they can do,
Mm-hmm.
so don't, keep your head on a swivel, just play hard. That's the only thing you can control. And then he goes, hey, this is my rookie year. He said, hey, get you a tape of nothing but hits. And I was like, okay. He said, because I don't care if you're 0 for 44, 0 for 100, that pitcher cannot know that. You got to walk up there like you
Mm.
are, 100 for your last 100. And what he was saying is control your thoughts. Don't let those bad times affect how you play and get you down, right? So basically, at an early age, between him and, like it's, Ricky Henderson, rest in peace, man. Dave Parker, rest in peace. I had Robin Yount. Like I said, my
Mm.
village had all types of people. My village wasn't all black, but my grandmother also taught me that at an early age. Because I
Mm.
love football, and I got co-MVP in a Pop Warner All-Star game, and after the game, she was like, "Boy, what's wrong with you? Pick your lip up off the ground." You know what I mean? I was like,
Mm.
And I said, Grandma, we got co-MVP. He threw me. I scored 4 times between, running the ball, kickoff, screen pass from him. And she said, you made it too close. I said, no, Grandma, I didn't make it too close. This is what I did. She says, evidently you didn't do enough. Don't make it close. You know what I mean? So I think,
Wow.
I think that is the mindset. I think she at an early age, whether it was the classroom, whether it was cutting grass, whether anything you did, be the best at it. Don't make it close. You know what I mean? And evidently, she said, Greg, what you did in this game, you had a heck of a game, but it wasn't enough. You made it too close. And I was like, okay. So I know what she's saying. She's like, beat the brakes off of everybody and everything that you do. Right? Step on the throat. Step on the throat. Do what you have to do.
So there's no questions. There's no question that you didn't just beat them.
Yeah, you know what? But I think, Nate, and you could probably attest to this. You were talking about dads being in lives and this and that. My dad was in my life. My dad was not a sports person. My dad was, hey, 18, get a job, you get ready to raise your family, do what you do, right? Exactly. I said, okay, man. I said, I'll never ask you for anything as long as I live. You told me this, but I'm like, in my heart of hearts, I think I can do this. But it was my grandmother, my mother, my uncle, my, the secretary at the school, the coaches. I mean, they didn't let you take shortcuts. You know what I mean? Yep. I learned at an early age, trying doesn't take much effort at all. Trying, what is trying? It's not hard to try. But when you compete and you love something, there's a difference, because when you go outside and you catching baseballs and playing baseballs and hitting baseballs, that's not work. You know what I mean? You love that. I mean, that's easy. But, unfortunately, these kids nowadays, unless it's a called practice, man, they don't pick up a glove unless their mama's carrying it for them and, setting it up on a tee and wiping their head off when they sweat. It's these kids don't do it anymore. I think I'm glad I grew up in the era that I did, that we played 5 sports in one day, whatever.
But the thing is, Greg, you played, and not Ryan. This is the era he's talking about. We played just for the love of the game. We really had no other commitment other than I like. And like you said, we would go in the morning. I remember growing up, we might go, if it's cool, we'll go to the park and play some basketball. Then later on, we'll go play some softball. Then later on in that, we're gonna play some street football. So we did 3-4 things a day, and that was our summer, man. Then we go get our bikes, and then we go challenge some other kids from around the block that thought they was nice as us, and they would wax us every now and then. We would get upset, but we wouldn't get fighty upset. Like Greg said, we would come back and say, "Okay, you got us this time, but next time we're gonna bring a ringer for your ass." And then we got Derek Jackson out of Mobile, Alabama.
You guys recruiting.
Greg, he was you, Greg. When Miss
you guys
Jackson,
were recruiting.
We were scrubs. I knew long ago that my forte was recruiting people. And I said, Miss Jackson, when Derek coming? She said, oh, Bubba, he'll be here. We was waiting at the stoop. As soon as Derek landed, we had a softball tournament. He pitched, played outfield, hit 5 home runs, we won. Basketball tournament, he played point guard, he scored 30, we won. Okay. When he was in there, we were bums. But Greg is right. Having that, you just played, had a good time. You know where it was going. Some guys did well, played college, high school ball. You just happy just to be playing sports. And they don't have that kind of cachet, as I would say now, Ryan. That's why I love the fact that you're raising Teddy and Tom just to love playing baseball.
They love it. They play it a lot. They want to go outside and they want to play catch. But that's the thing that's because I'm brainwashing them. I'm making them want to think that that's what they want to do. Now, here's the thing, guys. It's kind of strange and ironic, but back then things weren't as safe. There were way more despicable people out there. You always had to worry about things. Yet kids got stronger and better at things. And now, I mean, my generation was probably the first to suffer from that type of helicopter parenting and a helicopter society where you can't really go out People were inside playing more video games. Screen time, that wasn't even a word back in the day because we didn't have to worry about it. Who the hell wants to sit in front of a television all day? You go outside and hang out with your friends and meet them on a bicycle. I think I was at the very, very tail end of that, and at the beginning of this new age where it's just not safe to go, or at least they don't want you to think it's safe to go outside. So it impacts everything from sports to just basic society. So it is kind of strange. It's a safer place, but where's the soul?
Yeah, I don't think it's safer. I think now, because with all the, back then, I think the neighborhood policed the neighborhood. Everyone had, everyone looked out for one another. I think, there wasn't, we had guys that were living on the other side for sure. But,
right.
but like these sexual pedophiles and all this other stuff, they knew they could, man. You can't come up to the school, the park where you got all your homies doing, what I mean? Now it's so isolated, and these guys have, it's an art, it's a science now. You know what I mean? They got it down to a science that kids just stay away. And I don't blame parents. I mean, boy, girl, whatever. I mean, just to go to the park, you're going to come across some people that just.
But it's even deeper than that though. It's the kids their own age. It's a culture right now, because I have two grandchildren. It's a culture of bullying, and it's really sad. It is so sad to see this culture of bullying when young people don't want to engage in that, and they are clearly saying to the other young folks, "I'm not with that," but they still feel compelled to get them in some shenanigans when they say, "That's not what I'm about." So you have to, in this day and age, I'm telling you, like my grandma, she got cut her social media. Like, nah, I ain't even on that, because they use that platform to hate on young people. And it is incredibly crazy. And if you can't shut down that noise, like Greg said, and if you can't do other things and have your parents put you in other situations, like being positive and not having those negative influences, because you're going to have them. I don't care what school you go to, but the fact of the matter is, you got to keep your head on the swivel, Greg, because like I said, there's so much bullying online. It is incredible. The amount of children committing suicide and feeling a certain kind of way because their peers are being so mean to them because they don't want to, rock and roll with what they're doing. It's just outrageous.
You see it online, the comments, right? The comments online. I mean, it's some of the more vile things you don't have the freedom to say this to people's faces back in the day.
Yes.
You'd be punched. You'd be attacked. Like, you say whatever you want online and get away with it. It's the Wild West. And kids see that, and it's normal now.
But we opened the show with controversy, talking about controversy and negativity sell. And, the guy at ESPN, that's what he does. That's what he became known for, being very controversial. And unfortunately, like I said, it's he can think he's being biased or unbiased. I mean, you don't see a community of people reacting the way they react if he's not making them feel some type of way, right? I think we're missing the boat, though. I think we have to be responsible for our kids.
Yep.
I think we have to stand up and be responsible and not let this knucklehead go out there and bully and, put this on social media and not, this is not okay. You know what I mean? You have nothing to do with the other kid, but I damn sure can tear his ass up, though, right? we can take this phone. You're not going to see daylight until you're going to go to school, and then you don't treat people this way. We need to take the reins back from these kids, man.
Yep.
The kids have the power. We're the parent. The parent's supposed to have the power. I know, Nate. During the times when we grew up, like I said, they didn't even have to say anything. You got the look.
What?
Oh, okay, game over.
And don't suck your teeth, Greg, because you have none. Yeah. If you even attempted to, and you better have somewhat of a friendly look on your face when they gave you the chore. You better not look too disgruntled.
Yeah, but like I said, you know what? And mom said, "Hey, don't have me tell your dad, because if it gets to dad, it's all bad." You know what I mean? So, but as kids, we still had the respect of the household, right?
Yep.
Mom and dad, it was that the hierarchy, and the pecking order went from there. And I think we can say kids are bullying, kids are doing all this. You're absolutely right, but as a parent, stop it.
You got to stop
Be
it.
responsible for your kid.
Yep.
Be responsible for your kid.
Yeah.
I mean, tough
The-
love.
yeah.
I mean, tough love. It is what it is. But you got to be responsible for your kid. Kids get away with what the parents allow them to get away with.
Exactly.
When I was
Totally.
growing up, my mom, grandmother, I mean, every adult was right. And it didn't matter. Every adult was right. You can have an opinion. You can do that.
Yep.
But we'll fix that at home. But you're not going to be out here arguing and yelling at adults
Exactly.
and disrespecting adults and doing it. That's not going to happen. You want to eat? You want to sleep in my house? This is we're going to react a different type of way. We're not going to have you walking around doing that.
Hey, man, and on that note, we got to get
Nailed it.
out of here. This has been a great, great show. Once again, GV23, thank you so much for being here with us. Ryan V, you're the best, dude. You're the best. And Zoe's, tell them about Zoe's.
Yeah, Zoe's closed down for a little bit. Zoe's under construction, let's just say.
Okay,
But if you want to come visit me in the Hamptons, the upstairs, we're wide open. We're open and available if you want to come hang out at our family office.
Okay, that'll work.
That's a good rundown.
You know what? So, Ryan, I gotta call you. I gotta make some adjustments to the flyer. Okay,
That's all. It exists in spirit. Technically, I guess it's still here.
Hey, good luck to your Yankees and your Mets this week, fellas.
Hey,
Yeah.
listen,
You guys-
man. If they get 500, I'm happy. That's where I'm at right now, buddy. 500
Well,
ball.
like I
I'm
said,
happy.
well, hopefully, me and Ryan were talking about this last week. Hopefully, they have a plan, right? Hopefully, they have a direction they want to go, and don't blow it up. Just go in that direction
Oh no,
until you
I
can
think
get
if
to
you
where you
keep
need
these
to be.
people that you got right now, and Soto come back, you'll be all right.
The silver lining is the rookies. The Mets have some.
But
rookies that
speaking
are
of resiliency,
good
right
production.
quick before we leave, they got a guy named Van on their team, Jeff Van, and this is the guy that when he pitches, he's a lefty, right? I think he's a lefty, and he
Oh, your
jumps
boy?
up. And wait, but here's the deal. So he's pitching the other night, and this is how they lose the game, right quick, right? He walks the first batter, but he jumps up like he made the strike, and the guy goes, "But you didn't make a strike." So he walks the guy, right? So the next two batters, he get out, but the guy's on third base that he walked. 2 outs. Guy gets up. He's like 0 for 4 the whole game, Greg. He ain't do nothing. Bip, home run, over the wall. White Sox won 6-4. I'm like, dude, if you hadn't been doing the jump dance and paying attention, that first guy would have got on base. And it took him 12 years, Greg, to get to the major leagues. So I give that guy mad respect. It took that dude 12 years to get to the big dance.
I mean, we had Can, we had guys that were doing the same thing. But hey, man, you better be a bad boy because we're gonna be jumping across that plate when we get you too. You know what I mean?
That's exactly what they did.
Yeah,
they hit that damn home run, and my man jumped and like, for you.
Yeah, doing the same thing. I mean,
like,
you just give some added fuel. But see, that's the thing about resilience too. Nate is. I tell guys this all the time. Like, I will first hole bogey. I was like, shoot, I've been 0 for 4 before. There's a lot of golf left. You know what I mean? You just got to keep grinding.
Hey, Ryan, man, take us out.
Hey, everybody, thanks for listening. As always, find us online at Fox Sports Radio, WGO.com, and of course on Instagram at What's Going On Sports. Greg Vaughn, 23, Nate Brown Jr., Fox Sports, and Ryan Verneuille. Good luck spelling that when I say it every week. We'll be back next week, folks. Over and out.
Peace.